Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel for more exciting videos. The rain had a way of softening London. It blurred the edges of everything, the sharp outlines of buildings, the hurried footsteps of strangers, even the thoughts that crowded Kat's mind as she stood by the window, mug in hand, watching droplets trace quiet paths down the glass. It was early, the kind of early that belonged only to bakers, dog walkers, and television presenters with call times that ignored the concept of sleep. For months now, mornings had been her refuge. Work had become the steady rhythm that held her together. On set, under the glow of studio lights, she was composed, warm, effortlessly engaging, the version of herself the world had always known. But behind the camera, in the silence between segments, there were moments when her smile would fade just a fraction too quickly. 9 months. That was how long it had been since the world learned about the end of her marriage too. 13 years together, quietly unraveled into separate lives that had, in truth, been drifting apart long before anyone noticed. She hadn't expected the silence afterward to feel so loud. "Cat, you'll miss your car." Her assistant's voice broke through her thoughts. She blinked, glanced at the clock, and exhaled a small laugh. "Right, yes. Coming." She grabbed her coat, one last look at the rain-streaked window, and stepped out into the morning. The studio buzzed like always, makeup brushes sweeping across skin, producers calling out timings, the low hum of anticipation before going live. Kat slipped into her seat, the familiar comfort of routine settling over her like a well-fitted jacket. "You're glowing today," a colleague teased. She smiled. "It's the coffee." Or denial. They laughed. And for a moment, it was easy. That was the strange thing about healing, it didn't arrive all at once. It came in fragments, in laughter that felt genuine, in mornings that didn't begin with heaviness, in fleeting seconds where she forgot what she had lost. But it also came with questions. Questions she wasn't sure she was ready to answer. Later that afternoon, tucked into a quiet corner of a cafe, Kat stirred her tea absent-mindedly as watched her with knowing eyes. "You're doing it again," Ruth said. "Doing what?" "Overthinking." Kat sighed. "I'm not overthinking. I'm thinking appropriately." Ruth raised an eyebrow. "You're analyzing your life like it's a script you can edit." Kat smiled faintly. "Wouldn't that be nice?" Ruth leaned forward, her voice softer now. "You're allowed to move on, you know." The words landed gently, but they carried weight. "I know," Kat replied. "It's not that simple." "Of course it isn't. Nothing ever is." Ruth paused, then added, "But staying stuck isn't simple either." Kat looked down at her tea. The steam had faded. "I don't want to hurt him," she admitted quietly. Ruth didn't need clarification. They both knew she meant Patrick. "You won't," Ruth said firmly. "You didn't end things to hurt each other. You ended them because they were already broken." Kat's fingers tightened around the cup. "What if people don't see it that way?" Ruth let out a soft laugh. "People will always see what they want to see. You can't build your life around their opinions." Easy to say, harder to believe. That night, Kat found herself scrolling through her phone, something she rarely allowed herself to do. Messages from friends filled her screen, dinner invitations, check-ins, gentle nudges toward life beyond work. One message stood out. "Spain again, or maybe somewhere new this time. You need sunshine, and maybe a handsome stranger." She smiled despite herself. Her friends had been relentless lately. Encouraging, insistent, loving, in a way that sometimes felt overwhelming. They wanted her to be happy. The problem was, she wasn't entirely sure what space where healing and hope quietly coexisted. She met new people, some forgettable, some kind, some simply passing through her life like brief, pleasant conversations. There were no grand gestures, no sweeping romances, just small moments that stitched themselves into her days. And occasionally, there was him again. The man from the dinner. They met for coffee once. Then again, conversations flowed easily, without expectation. He never pushed, never asked for more than she was ready to give. It was refreshing. One afternoon, as they walked along the Thames, he said, "You seem like someone who's used to having everything figured out." Kat laughed softly. That's a dangerous assumption. Is it wrong? She considered the question. Not wrong. Just outdated. He nodded, as if that made perfect sense. And maybe it did. Back at home, Cat found herself thinking less about fear and more about possibility. Her friends noticed. You're different, Ruth said one evening. In a good way, I hope. Ruth smiled. In a real way. Cat leaned back in her chair. I think I forgot what that felt like. Then maybe, Ruth said, this is you remembering. There were still moments of doubt. Late at night, when the world was quiet and her thoughts grew louder, she would wonder if she was moving too fast. Or not fast enough. If she was being fair, to Patrick, to herself, to whatever this new chapter might become. But those moments didn't last as long as they used to. Because now, they were balanced by something else. Hope. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Cat stood once again by her window. No rain this time, just light. She thought about everything she had been through. The love she had known. The loss she had faced. The strength it had taken to keep going when the future felt uncertain. And she realized something simple, yet profound.